My wife, dressed up for another man, looked me in the eye and said, "You've always just accepted things."
I smiled and said nothing.
What she didn't know was that I'd already been listening to her secrets for 3 weeks, and what I heard was going to cost her absolutely everything.
My name is Gary Lang. I'm 46 years old, and for the past 11 years I've worked as the head of security at Millburg Square Mall in Columbus, Ohio. Before that, I spent 8 years in loss prevention for a regional retail chain. My entire career has been built on a single skill. I know how to watch people.
I know how to read a room, and I know how to spot when something is slightly off before anyone else even notices.
That's the bitter irony of all this. I spent my life learning to see what others miss, yet I spent 2 years refusing to see what was happening inside my own house. Donna and I met when we were both 28. She was managing a hair salon near my work. We got married, had our son Cooper, and then our daughter Lily. They were good, solid years.
But on a Thursday in late October, after a 12-hour shift, I came home to find Donna applying heavy, full-treatment makeup at 7 in the evening. She was wearing a dark green dress I had never seen before. I stood in the doorway, keeping my voice level, and asked where she was headed.
"Out with the girls from the salon," she said, without even turning around.
Later that night, as she walked out with her purse over her shoulder, she looked at me and delivered that line. "You know what your problem is, Gary. You've always just accepted things."
She had no idea what I had already put inside that purse. 20 minutes earlier, while she was in the shower, I had slipped a small listening device deep into the inner lining of her bag.
An old friend of mine, a private investigator named Frank Doyle, had dropped it off 2 days prior. Frank was methodical, quiet, and completely without sentimentality when it came to facts. That was exactly what I needed. I wasn't chasing a feeling anymore.
I was collecting facts, and I was very, very good at that.
The next morning, while Cooper and Lily were at school, I sat at my kitchen table with cold coffee and called Frank. Donna had come home around midnight and gone straight to bed without a word.
She took the purse, I told Frank, which means she took everything in it.
Frank told me to give it 12 hours to log enough audio. I went to work, ran my shift on autopilot, and walked the east corridor of the mall. Around 2 in the afternoon, a coworker named Ron Briggs stopped me near the service entrance. Ron was 47, worked my shift, and we'd been workplace friendly for 3 years.
"You look rough," Ron said with a half grin. "Donna keeping you up?"
It was meant to sound harmless, but something about the casual way he said her name landed wrong. I didn't react. In security, the moment you tip your hand is the moment you lose. I filed it away and kept moving.
At 8 o'clock that evening, Frank called me back. I stepped out onto the back porch while Donna gave Lily a bath.
Frank played a 2-minute audio clip over the phone. The quality was crystal clear. I heard Donna's voice, and then a man's voice. The man's name was Bryce.
They were talking about a restaurant for next week.
Then Donna said something that hit me like a flat tire at highway speed.
"He still has no idea," she laughed. "Gary's useless that way. He just accepts things."
They both laughed. I stood on my porch watching the neighbor's oak tree sway in the October wind, perfectly still.
Frank wasn't done. "There's more," he said. "She mentioned money, Gary, moving things around."
You need to pull your joint account statements in person. And she mentioned someone at your job who's been keeping her in the loop.
"Did she use a name?" I asked.
"Ron," Frank said quietly.
I took Monday off work. My first personal day in over a year. My first stop was the bank branch on Morse Road. I requested printed statements for our joint checking and savings accounts going back 18 months. I sat in my car in the mall parking lot for 40 minutes, tracing the numbers. 11 withdrawals over 14 months. Each one was between $800 and $2,200. Every single withdrawal happened on days when I was working a long shift.
The total came to just over $14,000.
Donna had always handled our finances, pulling amounts small enough to avoid triggering automatic alerts.
I called Frank from the car. 14 grand, I said. He told me to screenshot and photograph every page and get them to an attorney named Patricia Howe before Donna got home.
When I finally got back to my empty house, instinct pulled me into the garage. The camping gear in the back corner was stacked differently. I found a duffel bag zipped tight and hidden deliberately behind a shelf.
Inside, beneath a pair of men's dress shoes in a size I don't wear, was a leather toiletry bag. It held bundles of cash wrapped in rubber bands, $3,100 in total.
At the very bottom of the bag was a manila envelope containing 2 airline tickets. Columbus to Tampa, departing December 19th, just 6 days before Christmas. The names on the tickets were Donna Lang and Bryce Howell.
I thought about my 13-year-old son, Cooper, asking me if we were doing a Christmas tree this year. I thought about Donna casually suggesting 3 weeks ago that we keep the holidays low-key this year. She wasn't planning a quiet Christmas. She was planning her escape. I photographed everything exactly as I found it, zipped the bag, and hid it perfectly. She needed to feel safe for just a little while longer.
The next day, Frank dug up the details on Bryce Howell. He was 40 years old, a regional sales rep, and most importantly, he was married. His wife's name was Karen, and they had a 9-year-old daughter in a Cleveland suburb. Bryce came to Columbus a few times a month for work.
Donna thought she was running toward a fresh start, totally unaware she was the other woman in her own affair.
I started building my case file, documenting dates, times, and sources, exactly as I did for security incidents at work. But I still needed to plug the leak. Ron Briggs.
Frank advised me not to fire him as it would tip Donna off. Instead, I fed him false information. I updated my work schedule to show a fake 12-hour overnight shift for the following Tuesday.
On Tuesday, I parked down the street and let myself into my house at 6 in the evening. Donna was in the kitchen, speaking in a low voice on her phone. She froze when she saw me.
I thought you had an overnight, she said, her eyes sharpening.
Shift got covered, I replied smoothly. What's for dinner?
The trap had worked perfectly. Ron pulled my fake schedule, passed it to Donna, and Donna coordinated with Bryce based on a shift that didn't exist.
But the biggest break came 3 weeks into the investigation. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number. It was Norma, Donna's mother.
I stepped onto the porch. I'm going to get straight to the point, Norma said, her older voice firm. I know what my daughter is doing. I don't approve of it, not one bit.
Silence is the best way to let someone keep talking. I didn't say a word.
Norma explained that Donna had left her iPad at her house 2 weeks ago. A message from Bryce had popped up on the screen, and Norma had read enough to understand the whole timeline.
I have 2 grandchildren in that house, Norma told me. They don't deserve to be caught in the middle of whatever game Donna is playing. I raised my daughter better than this.
Norma had taken screenshots before returning the iPad. She sent them to me that night. They were devastating. They referenced the exact dollar amounts missing from our savings and proved Donna had already secretly retained a lawyer named Linda Farr.
Donna wrote to Bryce, "Linda says we move on the filing after the holidays. Keep the December trip quiet."
I forwarded the screenshots to my attorney, Patricia, who moved with lethal speed. Combined with the financial records and the airline tickets, we had a clear, documented pattern of coordinated deception. Patricia filed for an emergency temporary custody hearing for Thursday.
On Wednesday evening, I packed bags for Cooper and Lily and loaded them into my trunk. I told the kids we were taking a short trip to Grandpa Earl's house in Gahanna. Cooper, being 13, felt the undercurrent of tension, but he just nodded and helped his sister.
My dad, Earl, was a retired machinist who had lived in that house for over 30 years. He was waiting on the porch in his flannel shirt despite the November chill. He hugged the kids, told Lily about a new cereal he bought, and asked Cooper to help with a woodworking project in the garage. The tension in the car instantly dissolved.
That was Earl's gift.
Later in the kitchen, Earl poured us coffee.
Donna, he asked.
Yeah, I replied.
Those kids going to be all right?
That's what I'm working on, I told him. He just nodded. No drama, no unnecessary questions.
The next morning I drove to the courthouse. Patricia was already there, perfectly composed, her folder organized.
12 minutes later, Donna walked in with her lawyer, Linda Farr. Donna looked polished, but tense. I saw it in her eyes. The look of a person under pressure who realizes they are suddenly completely out of their depth. She hadn't expected this timeline.
She hadn't expected me to fight back.
The hearing lasted exactly 40 minutes.
Donna thought I was a man who just accepted things. What she didn't realize was that I had spent my entire life learning to watch, wait, and document.
And by the time I finally spoke, the game was already over.